Hey fam, it's your guy Kinetics. Thought I'd have a real conversation with you guys on why I want to support the Texan token and the Texas nationalist movement. So I understand this isn't for everyone. I hope that the community can come together around the belief to agree to disagree. We're not Bitcoin maximalists here, but I think there's actually a real purpose here. And I'd like to state those beliefs as far as I see them and the people that are behind this that I truly believe in, and they have been nothing but good stewards of our community. So, just wanted to start off with that forethought. The the first point I'd really like to make is that the Texas nationalist movement is a movement of freedom. So, if you don't believe in this particular brand of freedom, if you have not accumulated enough hex, because I still think that is still the goal, you need to have your bags of hex and you need to always be accumulating. I would recommend a DCA strategy for that. Or so if you don't have enough hex, or if you just don't think that it'll bring the pulse chain adoption that I and others that I've spoken to believe it will, then this is not for you. Do not feel obligated. This is just more than anything, it's symbolic for an of an ideology of a movement that enough is enough. We believe in our personal freedoms and our own sovereignties, and this is just one way of showing that. But this particular token is actually a lot more than just that. So I went and checked out the definitions of endowment, and of course, I didn't like endowment because it says the action of endowing something or someone. Well, can't really use the same word you're trying to give a definition on in the definition itself. So I went back to endow, to provide with a quality, ability, or asset, give or bequeath an income or property to a person or institution in parentheses. And so the way financial endowments have been working, at least in the United States, I can't speak overseas. I just have a little bit of understanding in this. I'm the boring kid that reads Investopedia, so I'm the that finance nerd. So I read some of the stuff that I can't expect everyone else to be interested in or have taken the time to do so themselves. But as it exists in the United States, it's a financial endowment is a legal structure for managing and in many cases indefinitely perpetuating a pool of financial, real estate, or other investments for a specific purpose according to the will of its founders and donors. This Texan token is the first of many endowments that are going to be on the blockchain. This being the first endowment on the blockchain is actually really a big deal. So, what I really, really like about this, because I'm a Hex and I'm a Pulse and a Pulse X investor, what I'm really excited to see is that this movement is going to bring hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of new people that are no coiners into the Hex ecosystem and the Richard Hart ecosystem, the Pulse Chain ecosystem, especially since it'll be transacted on the Pulse Chain network. But it's going to bring people who have never even had a wallet. It's going to give them an incentive that they're already giving to these charitable donations and these endowments, so to speak, I guess you could say, for lack of a better word, to these organizations that philosophically align with what they believe. So, with that in mind, the fact that we can give loyalty points that equates to a token that is just a icing on the cake for those to encourage to give charitable giving, that's kind of a big deal in my opinion. So I think we're going to bring many, 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 many people into the Pulse Chain um, ecosystem, into crypto who weren't in crypto previously. And you know what they're going to find? They're going to find the best financial product ever, the yield producing store of value that is Hex. So if you can get millions of new people into an ecosystem where we currently have less than 300,000 people in it, is far, and that's, we're probably a third of that. Most people probably have two, three, four, five wallets. So can you imagine how much greater our market cap could be with Hex? And I can't even imagine Pulse Chain once it goes live and millions of people that have never been invested in crypto before decide to come into this. So it to me is a net win. So along those lines, Richard Hart himself once said that it if you're going to create programmable money, it might as well be programmed to provide yield. There's more than one yield producing instrument in legacy finance. There's going to be more yield producing instruments in the future. Why not be created by hexicans that love Richard Hart, love the hex product, still encourage people to accumulate more of the hex product? And I actually don't see this even as a competition, because one is for to entice people to give, the other one is to change familial generational wealth. So to me, they're not even in the same use case as far as I'm concerned. But he also said that as a Bitcoin maxi, he hated other coins because he thought it took away from the value proposition of Bitcoin. Well, he updated his worldview, and I'm asking some of you hexicans out there to understand and to update your worldview as well. That the same conclusion that Richard came to is that these other coins don't steal value away from Bitcoin. It is a rising tide that floats all boats. So I know I slaughtered what he said because I'm paraphrasing what he said, but the point remains the same. So both of those points, both um, progress, there not being a reason to program a token unless it's got programmable yield, and that Bitcoin action and Hex and Pulse Chain actually benefit from other good projects and other good tokens entering the ecosystem. So this is a good thing. This is a net win as far as I'm concerned. It also gives, and I'm kind of beating the dead horse on this one, but it gives the blockchain another or an additional use case: charitable giving and community building that's not centered around a toxic maximalism, but rather an ideal or a philosophy that you adhere to. I think that is huge, guys. I really do. Um, because I don't see this as a competitor to Hex, um, and I see it more of a complement, with Hex being the financial tool to gain wealth and financial independence, and then the Texan token being a way to support a political movement. In this case, it's one that um, I happen to get behind. I know RG and I have spoken, and I don't know if he's so much bought into the idea of the Texas national movement like I have, but he is very much a pro freedom guy, and he very much wants to support anything that Rags and Crypto Heartbeat do. So these guys have been great stewards of our community. I personally like the idea of the Texas nationalist movement, because if it fails, it's still a net win on freedom front too. If this thing fails and it is not put on the ballot, a referendum is not made for the citizens of Texas to vote on it, it might cause more states to come to the table for Article 5 of the Constitution, called the Convention of States. With the Convention of States, you need 2/3 of the majority. I think that's 34 states out of the 50 states have to come together, and then they decide where the federal government needs reorganized, where we can cut the fat, where we can get rid of the things that encroach on our freedoms and our liberty. Now, the hard part about that, though, is that all 34 states have to agree. So it gets very, very difficult when you've got representatives from 34 different states trying to push their own agenda. So that could become a, a pretty muddled mess, but ultimately, I think it would be a good thing, because a lot of people don't understand our laws are not what give us our rights. Our rights are endowed to us as natural citizens, either if you don't believe in God through natural law, or if you do from the Creator Himself, but that they are not given by man from the government. In fact, if you look at the Constitution, what the Constitution actually is a list of negative rights of the government, the things that the government shall not infringe upon as you as the sovereign individual's rights. So if we can go back to a better, I don't know if better is the way to say it, but if we can go back to just those principles and ideals, that, hey, I'm not sending a representative uh, to Washington D.C. every 2, every 4, every 6, every 8 years, so that you guys can make more laws for me. What you guys are supposed to do when I vote you in is that you're supposed to create protections for my rights, and maybe even get rid of some of those laws out there that stomp all over my rights. So that's a big deal to me. I don't want to get too deep into all of this. If anyone wants to know more, the things that are being pushed upon our kids, and then it being written into um, grants and tax uh, tax funded um, grants and programs that are completely against anything that is really sane, and then we go ahead and we really shouldn't get into this, but we're what we're doing is we're idolizing mental health issues is what we're doing in this country, and we need to return to some kind of sanity. So I don't want to hit on that too much, but I do want to let you guys know that the reason I am supporting this is because the actual movement and what it symbolizes. The fact that I'm going to be given loyalty points that will be cashed out in the form of a valueless token that may or may not have value in the future, that's just icing on the cake for me. If this isn't something that fits your guys' belief system, if you don't believe in freedoms the way that I do, and you don't believe that, well, I don't want to get too far into it, but a lot of our legislative problems come from organizations that we don't vote the people in or out. So when you look at like the EPA or the Department of Education, um, these are these are legislative bodies that are not voted in and can't be voted out. So I would like to see some kind of reorganization of that. And if Article 5 Convention of States is the way to do that, or if Texas can do that on its own and kind of be the example for the world of where freedom can go, then I'm all for it, and that's why I'm in support of the Texan token. So, um, I hope you guys can understand where I'm coming from. I hope we can agree to disagree if you don't feel the same way. Either way, I love you all, and I really hope that we can return to a time where discourse, hence the name of our channel here, can be spoken again and we can actually discuss the hard things that are hard to discuss, the things that have become taboo that we're not allowed to discuss anymore without starting a fight, because these things are the things that need to be specifically talked about so that family like ours doesn't get split up over minor differences when we agree on 99.9% of the things out there. We all want our kids to be safe. We want safe schools. We want to know that our families are protected by the rule of law, and that we don't have to always resort to violence to protect family. Right? Am I right? I think we can all agree on those things: lying, stealing, murder, all bad things, rape, and they all need to be punished. So those are the things I think that really need to be focused on, and not the squabbling differences on, well, this token may take some purchase power away from another, because I don't see it that way. I see it as a net positive altogether. I've droned on long enough. I just wanted to give you guys some of my ideas. And once again, guys, I love you all. I'm here for the long haul. Love me, like me, or hate me, as long as you don't ignore me. Appreciate you. See you guys.